Hola de nuevo, hermanos y hermanas. Kumusta ka? Mabuti ko, salamat. Salamat sa Diyos para sa araw na ito. 今天早上我正在学习普通话. Now I'm doing some Filipino. Nagsasalita ka ba ng Filipino? Hindi. Alam ko. Wala akong pakialam. Kaya ko ito. Mahal ko to. Salamat ulit sa Diyos. Nagpapabuti pa ang aking tono. Usama ako. Salamat ulit. I have some funny stories from being at work with it. Every time people come in, I'm continuing to sing in all these foreign languages and continue to practice while I'm working in the kitchen. And the locals have been pretty freaked out by it for the most part. Some appreciate the skill. Most are just weirded out by it. Alam ko, wala akong pakialam. Now, if I could speak openly about it, it seems like a lot of people here are comfortable with Spanish, but most people know hola, gracias, adios, amigo, and sometimes de nada. A lot of that is probably because, well, we've had it in our child's programs and things, right? And I know that a lot of the people are pretty uncomfortable when I use Mandarin. But 我不在乎，我能做到. I'm not sorry. I get good tips when I sing in Spanish. Me encanta español. Necesito más práctica. So one funny thing that have happened is, I think you may remember me speaking about keeping the language in your mind when you're studying. Well, the funny thing that happens to me is I'm going through all these languages and I'm doing this stuff in the back while I'm cooking. And customers come in and I go out front and I'm still thinking in that language and I say things to them in the foreign language. And not a single person ever has a clue what I'm talking about. And I know why. But sometimes I'll just come out front with their order and I'll be in the middle of doing Spanish and ¿Este es todo? What? Oh, lo siento. Is that everything? That's what happens. And I've had times where I'll be doing Mandarin and I know I'm busy. My customer's waiting a moment. And I want to say, sorry, give me a second. And I'm like, Dubichi! I could be in the back saying absolutely anything. They still don't feel like I waited on them. And I realized what I did. I have had a lot of really funny moments, but I've had some moments where there's been a lot of ignorance displayed to me. Some people know very little about a lot of this stuff. So people say things to me that I can't say any names, but there was one gentleman. And he came in and I was listening to Mandarin. I was singing along with it when he first came in. And he said to me, what are you listening to? Some Japanese girl? And I said, oh, no, that's Mandarin. She's from Taiwan. And he said, well, isn't Japan in China anyway? And I was going to get him a drink when he said it, and I stopped. And I looked over at him, is very serious. And it worried me. And I just respectfully said, no, sir, it's not. They're two different countries. It's like saying Mexico is in Canada. So it's been good, but there's been a lot of judgment that's come with it. A lot of judgment. When I started including other languages, a lot of people were very turned off. And in reference to my demo, when I did the demo, I wanted to apply my sound to their songs, but sing in their language to be respectful. And originally, I had planned on making the song titles authentic. And I wasn't allowed to do that. And I don't mean to bring it up again, except it was very upsetting. I worked very hard to respect languages. And every song I tried to post, it was like, you said this was English. You said this was English. You said this was English. And it was upsetting to me. But I'm hoping that we can see changes with that. If not, well, I'm only one person. And all I can do is express my point of view from what I've done. And I hope that people can relate and help me make positive changes for language development, proper language development. Because all language learning is exposure and persistence. So I'm actually fairly confident that there's probably people that have watched my Facebook that can read things in other languages because I'm repetitive in my phrases. And even if you don't speak Filipino, but you've been following my posts, you probably know what salamat sa Diyos, you probably know what that means. And you probably know what mahal ko to, you probably know what that means. If you're following my post, you don't speak Filipino. Neither do I really. Natututo ako. But you don't have to. You can. You don't have to. But if you have Filipino speakers in your area, I'm sure they would appreciate you being able to say salamat or kumusta ka, mabuti ako. I've never met somebody through what I'm doing that didn't know their language and English. And obviously I'm in Canada, they're coming here, they're learning English. I know all of that. But it goes beyond that, because when you get into it, you realize that it wouldn't really matter where you were. People that speak Mandarin, most of them speak English too, and Filipino and Spanish, and definitely the Indian languages, and all of the Indian languages, most of them also know English, at least enough to get by. I do know people here that have learned some other languages, and I'm not alone, but it's definitely a minority. So I'm trying to open some minds to some languages people might want to speak. Ultimately, I don't really care what the second language is. If you're interested in learning a second language, I think it would just be good to not have one. English and something else would be good. But like I said, I know language learning is a lot of work, so I'm not trying to say, do this, do this, do this. But if you have a foreign language presented in your area, it would go a really long way if you can learn how to say hello, goodbye, and thank you in whatever language that is. So in that is a reasonable expectation for language development growth. You'll get to start using that language with that other person. They will appreciate it. And you will get to start to feel what it's like to connect with people through language. They don't expect you to know it all. And in doing that, what can happen is you can spark interest to learn more. Maybe you won't. And if you don't, you still know those 3 phrases. You're not likely to forget them. Ultimately, I know that some of these videos are reaching a lot of different languages. I know that I have people from India and Colombia, Taiwan, America, Philippines, China, all around, watching to see what it is I have to say about this. And I really, really appreciate your interest in my perspectives. Thank God for English, and thank every one of you for learning English. With a common ground of communication, we can make more peaceful decisions and become more unified rather than being pushed away from each other. There's a lot of division going on in the world right now. It's the whole divide and conquer thing, right? And it works. But I hope that we can stay together enough to make some strong, peaceful decisions for our children's futures. And that includes all of us. So thank God again for English, and thank you again for your time. Tengo que ir. Manatiling positivo. Paz, amor y positividad a todos. Salamat ulit sa Diyos. Sabi ko Shanti. Elvida.